Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Be Your Own Healer podcast. I'm really excited to be introducing a special, incredibly powerful, awesome woman that I'm excited to have become friends with, Lavinia Errico. She is one of the co-founders of Equinox Fitness, which is now like just a massive national brand in fitness, but has also gone on to create MoveJoy, which is a more feminine movement in health and fitness, and one that is sort of like going beyond that third dimension of just physicality and getting into the mental and the emotional and the spiritual aspects of what really make us come fully alive. I had the honor of speaking at an event that Lavinia also spoke at, so I got to meet her, and I was captivated on the edge of my seat the entire time. And then we got to do MoveJoy, and it had this like incredibly massive, just like energy shifts in my body, unbelievable downloads coming in of awareness of a higher level of who I really am. It was so powerful me that I love doing MoveJoy. I've been telling people about MoveJoy, and I asked Lavinia to be interviewed and come on to the podcast to share this with you and share about her journey. And I have a lot of nuggets that she shared that day that I will share with you in this segment about really getting younger as you move forward in life, becoming more and more joyful, more and more vibrant, more and more resilient, which is really how we're meant to live. So thank you so much for being here, Lavinia.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. It's a pleasure.
Well, I would love to have you just start with like your story. I can see you having moved from like we've all been more like the masculine energy of do, and create and doing amazing things in the world with that. But now letting your feminine energy match that and creating this whole new movement that's really accelerating healing for so many people. So what has your journey been like through your own creation in your life?
Well, we go through different seasons and different stages of our life all along. So for sure, there was a time when I was so in my masculine energy. I was so in my doing, solution. And, at some point, you just can't contain that. It's like, you're holding on, like everything you're doing, it's so strong, like the energy strong, you're holding on like you're strong, and at some point it gives in, right? So it's that moment when things like most deliciously, I say that because I always say it's not to me, it's for me. When things fall apart, or they break down, it's that moment when I know now. I don't think I knew that in my youth, but I know it's like, oh, there's something better coming. There's something that's going to evolve. There's something here. This breakdown is going to create a breakthrough, right? So, I feel like in my life, I had like 3 massive breakthroughs. And girl, let me tell you, the breakdown was not fun,
Yeah.
but it was the work that you do, the work, the inside work, not the outside work. Even though there has to be outside work as well, because if you want to make your mind strong, if you want to make your spirit strong, if you want to make your soul strong, you can't have a weak body and have a strong spirit. Like, it just doesn't work that way, right? So you do have to, even when you are doing the mindful work and you're doing the soul work and you're doing that deep work, you still have to stay consistent with this outside vessel. You still have to make sure that you're getting your movement in and your work in, your exercise in, your breath work in, all of it. So it's really imperative that that happens. And for me, I did go through a bit of a breakdown in my life about 3 years ago. It's kind of started right around COVID. It was interesting because I turned 60 years old, and I had this vision that when I turned 60, that my life was just going to be I don't know. I really thought it was amazing. I felt like it was a milestone to something. And then of course I turned 60 in February, and and less than 3 weeks later, we went into a major quarantine. You know, we were in the middle of COVID. So yeah, things just started spiraling from there. And one thing after another. And then it was just like everything that I was normally doing, you know, I was still, you know, I have a meditation practice, I have my workout, I do a lot of, I love writing. So I do a lot of journaling. And I was doing all the stuff that I normally do, but I was just in a rut. I couldn't get out of the funk energetically. You know, I was trying, I was dancing, I was doing what I love to do. And I was like, whoa, I'm just not, I'm still feeling stuck. And then one day, well, the truth is, I've always viewed myself, Kim, more of a spiritual person than a religious person. And I literally found myself one morning at 4 o'clock in the morning on my knees praying to God. And it was like I had to turn it over to him. I had to say, God, like I need help because I am clearly I'm stuck. Like I just couldn't get out of it. And you know, a doctor was like, oh, I think we should put you on some meds. And not that I think meds are fine. It's just that you're looking at somebody who hasn't taken so much as an Advil in 30 years. So for me, taking medication doesn't feel right. Like I have a very sensitive system. So I just started praying. And then the next thing I know, I literally heard Spirit say to me, like about 3 weeks later, move. I was like ready to fall asleep in my bed. I had a book that I was reading here, and I hear this thing come, move. And I sit up in bed and I'm like, out of my house? Am I supposed to move out of my house? Because I thought I was, you know, I was in this big house by myself now that I was divorced. And I thought maybe he was telling me, and I'm like talking to myself. I'm like, do you want me to move? Anyway, a couple days later, I have a big deck with a beautiful tree that I'm always hugging. I'm always hugging this tree. It brings me back to me. And I have this urge to get up and I start moving and I know music and I start doing my breath work while I was moving. I'd never done that before. I never had incorporated my breath work with movement. And I just started doing it. And I was doing it and I'm moving in a certain way and I'm breathing and I'm moving. And I mean, yeah. So one thing led to another. And then I started kind of like praying while I was doing it. I'm breathing and I'm praying and I'm affirming and I'm just saying stuff like, I am strong. I am healthy. I'm just saying stuff and I'm noticing that I'm moving and I'm breathing and I'm moving and I'm affirming and I'm moving and I'm breathing. And I left about a half hour later and I was like, wow, I feel really good. I literally started coming back and doing it every day. It became a little ritual that I created, that I started doing the breath work and the movement and the breath work and the movement and breathing. And then I started adding music and I was starting it with music, with words. And then I was really like, no, I get distracted when I do the words. I want to stay in my body. I want to stay in my breath. So then I started downloading all this music that was just instrumental music with no words. And I was having so much fun. I'm like putting on Spotify, uplifted, happy music, instruments only, right? Instrumental only. And then I started playing with it and I started doing it and I affirming more. And I noticed about 2 months later, I was out of my funk. The funk I was in that was kind of running the show for about 8 months was gone. Like it was like literally, you know how like you almost forget. It's like when someone's sick and they see somebody like you, but they've been so sick for so long that they almost just have this belief system that it's going to be like this. I have to just learn that this is the new normal. And you almost accept it. And it makes me sad to even say that, but I was kind of feeling like maybe that was going to be my new normal. And I just had to accept it. And all of a sudden, I it wasn't my new normal. Like I felt good again. Like I was happy and I wasn't faking it. Like my cells felt good. Like everything felt good. And it was like, oh my God, this is really something. Like this is medicine. And I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And at the time I was teaching an exercise class online, but it was very exercise. It was very like boot campy. Um, and I started introducing this to the women. And the more I did it, what I noticed was not only did they like it, but they started coming more often. Like their consistency got so much better. Like they went from like once a week, then they started going twice a week, and then they started coming 3 times a week, and then they started bringing all their friends because they're like, this is fun. This feels good. And that was really the birthing. And truthfully, I was never planning on building this into a brand. Like, I mean, I didn't think at this stage in my life that I was going to go out there and create another brand. Like that didn't feel, I mean, if I would have done it, it would have been here in my head.
Yeah.
And I don't really do things, honestly. I'm not a head girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a heart girl.
Yeah.
I'm a creative person. Like when I tried to sometimes do something from my head, I mean, I inevitably fail. Like I'm not the person that can just do that. You know, I don't, when somebody says, oh, you're a serial entrepreneur, I'm like, no, not really, because it has to come through me this way. If it doesn't come through me this way, I'm really not a business person. I'm a creative person. I move through it that way. That's why for me, it's always been very important that the people I put around me have skill set that I don't have.
Mhm.
You know, and that's another podcast because I talk a lot about how to really build your successes by having the people around you that they each have a different superpower that you don't have, right? So I wasn't really feeling that that was going to be this next season of my life, right? I thought my season was, you know, kind of continuing mentoring people and helping other people start their brands or help them scale their brands or get them out of a slump in their brands. Like that's what I've been doing for 15 years and very happily, you know, and enjoyed what I do because I love working with people. So then about a year and a half ago, I'm in an entrepreneur group and somebody kind of put me on the hot seat and said, because they'd taken my class, why are you not building that into a brand? Like, why are you not bringing that to the public? Like, people need this, especially women our age, you know, the 45 plus, plus, plus. We need this. Nobody's really doing this the way you are, you know? And I was
Well, and
like,
to show women what it can be like to be 60 years old, fully alive, joyful,
right.
expressive, sensual, to be just an example to women is so needed.
It's so needed because, you know, the message that we're always getting, like that subliminal messages, we're not pretty enough now, we're not young enough, we're not sexy enough. Every man wants you know, a 25-year-old. And it's just like the stuff that we and everybody that advertises to us is plastic surgeons. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes I must have once watched like a deep plane facelift, and now every plastic surgeon's on my algorithm, and it's like, get off. Like, I don't want you on there. And I keep on, I don't want that.
That's kind of like the remedy for being not an alive woman, you know? So if you go through life and you shut it down and you're in your masculine. You never learn how to have that sensuality and that sense of self. That's why will they say like, oh, well, men will want a younger woman. Well, men just want an alive woman. And if women go through life and come on that trajectory and they shut it down, yeah, decades of doing that, you're not alive anymore.
Right.
What are you going to be? So I think it has nothing to do with age. It has to do, are you willing to keep letting your light shine? That's what everyone is attracted to.
I always say everyone my age is obsessed with a facelift, but I'm obsessed with a life lift. Like that's what like we are lifting your life, we're lifting your spirit, we're lifting your energy, we're lifting your vibration. We're literally, I mean, the first part of it, the first, as you know, because you've taken it, the first 15 minutes is all I call release. And we're releasing, we're discharging the energy of a traumas and worry and fear and not being enough and shame and grief and betrayal and resentment. All that stuff has an energy, right? Like there's an energy to that
Yeah.
emotion, and that energy is what lives in our body. So like I say, every day, the same way you clean your teeth, you should be dispersing that energy off your body, because you don't want that energy living on your body. It's unhealthy. It creates the body to be out of harmony, right? So the first 15 minutes, we just release that energy, and we do it with breath work and movement and intention and a real, and it's hard. It's like
Yeah.
we're releasing it. We're releasing it. We do all kinds of things, and we move and we release that energy. We're very, very purposeful and intentional in releasing it. Then the second part of it, I call reclaim. And we're reclaiming our life with our strength, with our confidence, with our love for ourselves. And so, research shows that 92% of all women over the age of 38 hate their bodies. Like hate their bodies. So, when you go to the gym, I see this all the time. The women walk in the gym and then they start standing in the mirror and they're going like this, and they're going like this to their arms, and they are sitting in that mirror, especially like a few minutes before class starts, and all they're doing is looking at everything that they hate about themselves. And then when they start moving their body, they're moving it to like, oh, I got to get rid of this. And it's like that.
You fight your body, just fight
Exactly.
yourself.
Exactly. So you're sitting there working out and building muscle. And as you're building muscle, you're actually putting like self-hate into every
Hate.
muscle.
Yes.
There's nothing about that to me that feels right. It doesn't,
Or
there's
could
nothing.
generate health. It literally cannot generate a healthier body when you do your exercise or approach that way.
No, you just can't. And then you walk out of there. And even though energetically you might feel a little better because you sweat and you did that, but then like I see it all the time. Like I see the women come out and then the first thing they do when they sit in the car, they look at their eye. They're going, like it's like I could see the whole thing happening, and I'm just like,
Well, and
whoa.
they're using like exercise to counteract their self-hate and counteract their disdain. And then it's this addiction, like, I got to do my workout. And they do their workout. And it's maybe this little bit of a endorphin rush for a while that counterbalances that baseline of self-hate or just self-deprecation. And this is a whole different, like you said, you discharge that. You don't need to carry that around. You could really let go of all the beliefs and the ideas and the BS belief systems of that, and you have this inner sense of self-love and self-worth that is your true nature.
And and then in this class, the next 20 minutes of movement or 30 minutes as we're building and we're strength training, because we do need to, muscle is medicine. We need muscle as we get older. We cannot just walk. I mean, I know everybody's saying get in your 10,000 steps, get in those steps, and you need to be doing resistance training for
Yeah.
sure. And of course, for me, you need to be doing release training. So
100%.
that, and then after that, the last section I call Rise Up. And that's a section where we are getting into our female energy. And I always say, okay, ladies, let's bring her out to play. Some of you have stored her away, but we need to now have fun with her. bring her out, bring out your sexy, your sassy, love yourself. I have a thing where I go, we're going to shimmy, and we shimmy our shoulders, we shake our tushy, and we say, let our soul soar. We shimmy and we shake, we let our soul soar. And it just feels like it feels good. We dance a little, and I always say, like, I don't care, like, we're going to dance in your living room. You're going to feel good. You're going to feel alive. Even if you're not getting the steps, I just say, keep moving. The most important thing is to just move, put them, at that point, the only time I do use music with words is at the rise. So that, we're dancing. Yeah. And it's been amazing on so many levels because we're also building great community. We're building an online community. This summer, I'm actually going to be doing some in-person events all over in the Hamptons, New York City. So we're figuring that out. I'm going to be in Aspen doing some stuff there. And again, it's really just it's we need to also connect with each other. We need each other. I mean, when you put a group of women together in a room that have a certain mindset and a certain heart, and magic happens. Like we call ourselves at the end, we're the MoveJoy magic makers, because when you've let go of a lot and you're like really connecting to your heart and connecting to, like, I love the word devotion. I'm very much, but for me, the word devotion is about, like, to do things in a devotional way. So when I'm moving and I'm working out or I'm exercising, to make it more devotional, it's like you do it in that devotional way with discipline. And I love the word discipline because it comes from the word disciple. So when you look at the word disciple, it means to continue education, to keep learning without ego for a higher purpose. And that higher purpose is for your health, for your well-being. And what I love about that, especially with women, is if we are our higher purpose for health, for well-being, for vitality, to fill our cup with joy, with love, with goodness, we bring that to our families. We bring it to our husbands. We bring it to our world. We bring it to our communities. Like, we become the being. Like, it's not what you want. It's the being of who you are. And when you're in that being, everything changes, right? Like, it becomes so magical. It becomes so transformational when you you embody the being of all that good. And that's what MoveJoy is. At the end, I'm like, embody it, embody this, and now take this everywhere. Connect to, this is my being. I'm uplifted, I'm joy filled, I'm love filled, I'm vibrant filled. I'm filled to the rim with goodness, with love, with inspiration, with creativity, with impact, with purpose. When you are filled like that, everywhere you go, it's like all of a sudden it's magic is happening. You're just connecting, and people see your light. You use that word in the beginning. People see your light. They feel your light. They, like, you walk into a room and it's like, oh, I had to come over and say hi to you. Like, you're just so bright, you know?
Well, this is the difference between the masculine power and the feminine power, which really are meant to be equally appreciated and equally engaged in, for whether you're a woman or you're a man, to equally engage in these. And the masculine is the seen and the outer and the productive, and that's what gets kind of all the cred. And then you got this other thing that seems like, because it's in the unseen, it has no value. And nothing could be further from the truth. The value of a woman lit up, inspired, connected, who's, like you said, discharged all the BS of belief systems that you didn't even know you were carrying around, and then cultivated this sense of inner strength and, yes, and the vibrance is of value to every single person in her life. So whether it's your children or your partner or like your business or anything, you've got to feed and nurture that first, because the feminine energy feeds the masculine energy, the omega feeds the alpha. And whether that's just within your own singular system, because I teach people about the electromagnetics of the body for self-healing, whether it's just within your singular system of your omega feminine energy and your masculine energy, or it's within the dynamics of relationships, it is everything. And whether women are like exhausted and overwhelmed, or like, I don't have the partner, and they complain about the husband, or they're just, dried up and their health is deteriorating. This is really the medicine. And what you're saying is like, we've got to be that medicine in our embodiment. It lights up our world. It lights up our health. And I love I love the all four stages you're talking about, but I love that like rise up. And I guess that release is so important. You don't realize like you can't really put anything good in till you discharge what's ready to go out. And if for me, if that's all I did, that would be the most essential. And then yeah, in devotion, like who is it for? As women, we do so much that's for everyone else, for everyone else. And then it's like we forget the devotion to being that medicine for ourselves.
So funny. Last week we have a women. I host a women's circle here once a month, and the focus was on hope. Like, what do we? The energy was about hope, and it was interesting when all the women went around the room, and where are they being hopeful in their life, or where every one of them literally said something outside of them. It was either for their children, for their husband, for their aging parents, afterwards I was just like, wow, we're so conditioned, So I just thought, no, the next session is really going to be about us, is really because, we're so conditioned, like happy kids, happy wife, happy husband, like happy me. Like we have to know how to fill our own cups. Like it is okay for us to have these like selfish moments. And I don't look at it as so selfish. I look at it as devotional, like
Yes.
to devote, to have this sacred rituals, sacred time to really honor, to fill ourselves up, like to honor that. As women, we are so conditioned to be caregivers of everyone else,
And we lose, we get depleted, and then they're depleted because we're just teaching everyone to rely on us, which isn't teaching them to connect with their inner.
Right, exactly. Autonomy is a big part for me. Autonomy is a big part of agency. And if you really look at what is agency, right? Autonomy is a big part of it. And we so often in the culture of family is so used to making everything very like everyone is very codependent on each other. And that's a slippery slope to be on. You want to teach your kids agency at a young age, right? How to have independence, how to be able to get their needs met within themselves, not always coming to you, right? I mean, it's an interesting concept, and I think for women, we have a tendency to overgive, to overdo, to caretake, to literally, what do they call it? Helicopter parenting or whatever, to the point where it actually creates dysfunctional behavior in children. So, and in ourselves, right? In ourselves. And all of those things cannot, like, if you really look at what is wellness, if we had a conversation about the holistic approach, it's so interesting now because everything is with these biohacks, everybody's biohacking. And, Sometimes I'm just like, okay, but they're missing a lot of important parts of this.
Yes, I know. It's just such a pet peeve for me too. When you said at the event that we spoke at, you said, I'm in my menopause and it's been amazing and I feel incredible. And guess what? You don't have to have all of these disruptive symptoms. I was like leaping out of my chair to have someone else saying this because I've gone through my life, multiple pregnancies, miscarriages, deliveries, and had like allowed it to be as fluid an experience as possible. And there are a lot of women who suffer because they have a different template of what it means to be a woman. And what I wanted to bring you on to here for was really also to show a new template of what it can be like to be a woman, and not saying it's wrong to have, because some people are in so much pain. I've seen lots of women with severe pain, but just to have a new possibility of what if I were on a different template of what it is to be a woman? What if I were on a different template of what it is to go through having a period or pregnancy or motherhood or menopause? They need to have someone embody that in order to show us how to have a new template. What does it mean? And you're really redefining what it means to be a woman. And what you're touching on here is that meaning and purpose. Yeah, we've fallen away from the 1950s where your only purpose was like your husband or the kids. It's not about becoming selfish. And now, like, it's not about them, 1980s. It's about me. It's so much more of a devotion to everyone else to be a woman in devotion of that sacred inner feminine.
It's so much more gentle and tender. The 80s were like, I am woman, hear me roar. And it was just like, and the energy was like, you're putting on your masculine clothes, right? To
Yeah.
like go out there and I have a seat at the table and I have an opinion and like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like, it's that hard metal. It's that metal energy, right? But, but today it's different. We're the bamboo. We're just a piece of bamboo, that bamboo it's really tough wood, but it flows and it moves and it has more flexibility. It looks nice and slim and it just has a certain energy to it, right? It's interesting when you talked about like when you look at that, when I said to you, I mean, literally, I had my period 1 month. I spotted the next month and I didn't have a period the next month. And that was it. I really had absolutely no menopause. But it was the same way when I started my menstrual cycle. Like I never had a cramp. I was never that girl that like, oh my God, I can't get out of bed. I have my period. Like I'm not making fun. Like but I do when I look at threads, because I have a tendency to look at threads and how life goes, right? I really believe in my heart, it's like your thoughts, your words, your feelings, your actions, and your attitude creates your life. And when I look at certain things, I even look at like friends of mine, like when I was in high school, that were the girls that had really bad complained. I don't know if they had them bad or not, but it was like they were the ones that was like, I'm on the curse. I hated that too. It was like I hated that we called the period the
Yeah,
curse.
our verbiage is a really important part of our experience.
And I never felt that. Like I called it my girlfriend. I'm on my girlfriend. I didn't call it the curse. I was like, oh, I have my friend. And even so, and that wasn't somebody taught me that. That just felt right to me. I was aware that calling something the curse and calling it my girlfriend was a different energy. It was a different vibration, right? So when you have a curse, it automatically brings you down to a negative. When you have your girlfriend, I have my girlfriend, when I look back now at like some of those the women I was friends with and the way their attitude on a lot of things. When I look at who they are today at 60, they still have that attitude.
Yeah.
And
It's a lot how we relate to sensation in our body. So we have a little ache or a little something, and then we and there's either fear or even a wrongness, or there's a softening, and there's resilience. And I've seen that that has a lot to do with how we experience womanhood and our period and pregnancy, which is all about change. And and that the menopausal symptoms, because the feminine is always changing. What's been celebrated in this culture is the linear, the steady, the sturdy and steady, and this is always the same. But we've got to, both as men and women, begin to cultivate the appreciation of the always changing, and the ability to be resilient, and the value of that. And you said so many things. I know you were also a rockette,
I
right?
was.
Like, this is so many things you shared in that talk, that you said how you showed up. Like, they couldn't not choose me. You showed up in such a yes. It's like we've got to be on board for ourselves as a woman, on board for, we are cyclic. We have this ever-changing nature. We are more, the feminine is a more sensual energy, and it's okay to sense and to feel. And I think that's really where you've been winning at life, with your own resilience and your own health, and also the impact you've had in the world, is that you are yes for yourself, with the growing and the changing and the unexpected, and the things that can't be controlled, because you can't control what you feel, you can't control what's happening. The resilience comes from being willing to let go of control. And I think there's just so many wins you've had in your life, and continue to have over the next 100 years next, to really let people begin to cultivate that power of the feminine.
The power of the feminine. Listen, I also, like you said before, we need that masculine. We need to meet ourselves there. That's what brings us structure. That kind of keeps us structured. It's like the infrastructure.
Mhm.
Even if you look at, I always use things in the analogy of a house, right? The foundation is the male energy. We need that foundation, right? So you can't build the house without that foundation. But then we have to bring in the feminine energy. That's where we bring in the creative. That's where we bring in collaboration with other people. But you can't forget that you need the foundation, and we need to be able to know how to meet the two, right? It's that melding that comes in there that gives us also that next layer of confidence. Because to see a confident woman, so often, especially years ago, and I will say I was part of that before I really owned who I was. It was like, I remember our first club was in Westchester. And I remember one of the women that worked for me, she was, maybe 6 or 7 years older than me. I think at the time I was like 28, 29. And she says to me, you know, everyone here calls you the Wicked Witch of Westchester. And I was like, what? And she's like, you're just too tough. You walk in here and you're tough. And I was like, and the truth is, I was a young manager. I was 28. Like, what did I really have in management skills yet? And the truth is, it was like, I walked in that club and I just wanted everything to be perfect, right? Because every day felt like you know, our life was on the line. Like, we needed to hit those numbers every day, and
Yeah.
we needed to have it. And the truth is, all I wanted was for them to do what they were supposed to do, because then I was ensuring that we were going to have good customer service. And I didn't know how to inspire yet. I
Yeah.
wasn't at that place where I could get into my feminine energy. Instead, I went in there like a guy. Like, that's what my vision was. This is what a good leader does,
Yeah.
right? I hadn't really had yet um, a really good mentor mentoring me on that level of leadership.
Mhm.
So it wasn't, yeah. And I was just being in my male energy of being tough.
Yeah.
But then once I heard that, I mean, that was probably, I don't even know if that girl ever knows that. She gave me one of the best lessons that I ever learned. Like, I learned it from one of the trainers. You're being so hard, you're harsh. And I walked out in the car after that, and I sat in the car and I'm crying. And then after that, I was able to find a mentor, somebody that could really mentor me on how to be a better leader, and that really meant at that time, my mentor didn't talk to me about honing in my soft skills, honing in the soft skills of listening, of, like the stuff that really makes somebody a good leader, right?
Yes. Yes. I've seen that those are really the factors that determine how we heal. Like, can I listen to my body? Can I be receptive? You talked about the power of the pause and like
Yeah.
not being in reactivity, allowing the pause so you could be in a more of a grounded certainty for all of, the masculine outer, the connection within inner, like all of it. And I know you've been through like so many experiences in your life that have taught you that to be in that pause. How would you share like a good way for us to practice that? Because that resilience is not intrinsic, especially in a society that like trains it out of us. What are the ways you cultivate that power of the pause to stay in that like sweet spot of your wisdom, which is really going to create you've been so creative and so powerful and so impactful. So what would you say are like the ways to hone that in and cultivate that?
Pausing helps us get present. And so often we're having a conversation with someone, and all of a sudden they say something, and you're noticing your body. Ooh, you notice the heat coming, right? You're ready to get defensive. You're ready to get reactionary. And at that moment is the perfect moment to say, I need to get present here right now. Present, I need to power of the present pause, right? Like, so you're getting present because it takes that moment of presence to say, I need to pause here, right?
Yes.
So you internally, and I have to tell you, I do this and somebody doesn't even know I'm pausing. When
Yes.
somebody, I could feel that they are pushing my buttons, something they're saying. And I do believe that at this next season, with everything that's going on politically in our country, is a really good time for people to hone on to that power of the pause, because we're going to have our buttons pushed a lot, right? Because once everything starts with the presidential campaigning, I just remember how it was 4 years ago. And there were friendships that I saw friends who were no longer friends because of the arguments that they got in. It was really rough, right? So it's like, it's a time when you just go, let me pause. I'm taking a second. And I listen to the person. Now, I have a thing where I put my hand on my heart. So as soon as I go like this, it means I'm calming myself down. So, and I have a tendency to lean in, and it's my way of just saying I'm pausing, but they don't know that I'm pausing. But it's me saying, and I don't say anything. I say, just listen. And sometimes, honestly, I'm listening like this because
Yeah.
I know what they're saying. I, I, I don't have the capacity to really, really listen because I'm too angry. So
Yeah.
at times, and then you could go back to the person at some point and say, hey, I want to, because I'm always curious. Especially the people I care about and I really respect, I want to know their opinion. Like, I want to know why you feel so passionately about
Yeah.
that. But at that moment in real time might not be the time to do it. Like, timing, I'm sure we all talk about timing is so important. For whatever reason, you could have just not got enough sleep that night. You could you could be hungry, you haven't eaten. Like, there's so many things that don't make that moment the ideal moment to get into a conversation that's a bit controversial.
Yeah.
So I do this and I pause and I go and I'm like, and sometimes I'm just like, I hear you. I hear you. Like, my friends now know, like, things like, I'm good. When I'm saying, oh, I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm good. Or no, thank you. I'm good. Like, they know, like, I think even one year they had a t-shirt wrote that it says, I'm good.
Yeah. Mhm.
Because like everyone has to find their language. Their, like for me, it's no thank, like to say no, sometimes really hard for people. So I learned when I was learning to say no, to say, oh, no, thank you, I'm good. Half of the time, I'm good, didn't even go with it, but I felt like it diffused the no. Very, it's very difficult for women to say no sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, thanks, I'm good. So I find like little things like that. And then I always check in. I'm like, I always go like this. I am a woman. My training is to go, how am I part of this? Or what's my part of this? Where is my side of the street? Like, so I stop and I go, okay, why was I feeling a little triggered by that? What was that there? So I do my work, my internal work. I always say health, beauty, wellness, everything is an inside job. It's an inside job. Just it's an inside job. So I look at that and I go, okay. Then again, if it's a person I care about and I love and I want to have a real relationship with, it's not an agenda ship.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Yeah.
call it agenda ships. It's just cordial and we're work friends or whatever. But if this is a person who I really care about and is in my, more of my inner circle, then I'll go to them at another time. And because I want to know why they feel that way. But then at that point, I can have that more intimate conversation. I'm prepared for it. But that pause is definitely, you could just go like that and you're taking a pause. Like that pause is like, I'm taking care of myself right now.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know?
it sounds like that level of self-awareness is such a sacred part of this, of being aware, when am I open for that conversation, when am I not, and when am I triggered that I need to just be in my own pause so I'm not living from my triggers.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I grew up in New Jersey. I am an Italian girl. You mix Italian and New Jersey
Me
together.
too.
We're fiery.
Yeah.
We are fiery. Like we have that fire energy, like, so, and it's really behooved us in many, 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 many ways. It's a superpower in
Yeah.
some ways. And then in another way, yeah, it could do a job on that nervous system if you don't learn tools to calm it down.
Yes.
You can have like, I have friends of mine back east who like they work out every day. They have impeccable diets. They take great supplements. Um, and they don't understand why their cholesterol is so high. And I'm like, honey, because you have too much fire. Your
Yeah.
cortisol levels, like you're too fired up all the time. But they can't understand that. But I eat right and I work out and I this. I'm like, and I get my 8 hours sleep and your energy, you're too fired up. You've got to learn how to calm that down, you
Like you
know.
said, it's an inside job. Who am I being on the inside? Who am I being in this moment? We have just another minute. If there's anything we didn't touch on that we shared, I want to invite people to movejoy.life because you can do online. I'll go in the morning and get on and do some MoveJoy and she's offering these so people can be a part of this.
Let them go on. We're doing a free week so people can come on and experience a free week on it. And yeah, it's been amazing. And we really found that people moving in their house has really been like, that's a big part of why these women stayed very consistent. Because let's face it, if you don't have 2 hours to go to the gym, you're not going. Because by the time you get up, put on makeup, look to halfway decent, drive to the gym, park your car, go up, like it, before you know it, if you don't have 2 hours, you're not going. So it is really the women that have been on this during my pilot. I mean, the weight loss, the inflammation, the doctors coming back that their markers have never looked so good. And I really believe it's because they're staying so consistent, so consistent. And I also believe that the movement part of it is very special. I've really designed this with physical therapists and people who really have worked with me on, like, at a certain point, we're only as strong as our weakest ligament, our weakest tendon, our weakest joint, our weakest muscle. And one of the reasons why I think women go into these classes, they really don't belong in, certainly not until they get to a certain level.
Mhm.
And we're really mindful of that. And it's been really fun. Like, my slogan is feel good, really, really good. And how we came up with that is at the end, everybody goes online, it comes out, and they're like, oh my God, I feel so good. I feel so good. And I'm like, you know what? That's the slogan, because that's what everyone says after the class.
The other thing I really see, as you were talking earlier, was like how you came through your own metamorphosis from like a more shut down physical and energetic system to like an open, vibrantly alive, circulating currents in your energy system is like the caterpillar to the butterfly. And we do have this innate knowing how to do that. When you heard move and then you felt, all right, I'm gonna connect in my heart and I'm gonna just start saying my affirmations, and like you just let it come through you. And the more we just connect with our nature, the more we move through that ascension and through that, caterpillar to butterfly that the nature in us knows. And I think you're really helping women connect back to that intrinsic nature of how do we move through this ascension where we're going from, I'm just a physical thing, and we don't even acknowledge the emotional body, to where we're really going, and we celebrate. I'm a sensing, feeling, capable human being, multidimensional being, not just physical solid stuff. There's so much more happening here. And like to make that bridge that gap between that old functioning system and who we're really becoming, I think you're just helping people make that caterpillar to the butterfly journey through this amazing movement.
I feel that. I feel very inspired. I'm so inspired. Sometimes I even shock myself that I say everything right now is everything MoveJoy. And the truth of it is, I love it. Like, I just am loving the conversations, and I'm loving all of it. And it's interesting because I don't think I loved the first year so much in other stages of my life and business. Like right now, it's so yummy. It's
Yeah.
so amazing. So it's beautiful.
Organic. When we're organic, that's how life moves us. And
Yeah.
like you said, also in LA, like, well, if I knew I was going to go out and build another brand, or never would have done it because this is how it was the first time and it was work and you got to pour it in, and I'm not going to do that again. But that you found like, no, this is just happening for me. And I think that's another really wonderful thing to show so many women and so many business owners is like, we don't have to do it that way. You can be in the organic flow where like, situations happen and it catalyzes something amazing that you never would have done in that linear way, would have taken forever. But to be in this flow allows so much magic and power to happen. So thank you for being that and embodying that and bringing this work. And thank you for coming on the Be Your Own Healer podcast to show other women and other people just how to move into that feminine power so we can all be more fully alive. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You embody what MoveJoy is. So I mean, seriously, like your energy, even that day, I'm like, oh my God, like you were so alive and vibrant and beautiful. So you're walking the walk of it.
Well, we're definitely soul sisters. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So much love to you, and we will see you in our next segment.
Remember, it all starts with you. You have the power to create health, vitality, love, and prosperity beyond what you've imagined. You are your own healer. For more information on how you can begin this journey, go to my website, drkimd.com, where you will find multiple resources to open to true power and healing. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I share tools for self-healing every week, and sign up for my newsletter at drkimd.com, where I share my personal journey and further resources to work with me for healing. All of these ways for us to stay connected can be found in the episode description. See you next time.